Hey everyone. So in this lecture we're going to be talking about the differences between Adobe and Sketch. If you're Adobe or Illustrator user, you should be able to pick this program up relatively quickly. But if you're a beginner, go ahead and skip this lecture because this lecture is really geared towards those people who have learned Adobe, learned Illustrator, and want to know what are the similarities. So if you haven't used Adobe or Illustrator, go ahead and skip it because this won't really pertain to you, or you can watch it for yourself because there are a lot of similarities. So what are the similarities in this program? Well, a lot of it has to do with the hotkeying and just the keys on the keyboard. For example, if I want to copy and paste this, I can hit Command C and then pasting it Command V. But the new thing about Sketch is when you hit Command V, it pastes it in the exact same place. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this artboard, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Delete this shape, and I'm going to go ahead and hit Command C. I'm going to go into my artboard by clicking on the name, and then clicking on it and hitting Command V, and it's going to go ahead and paste it into place. So that is the new element that they've added into Sketch that Photoshop and Illustrator don't have, because in Photoshop and Illustrator you have to go to Edit and paste in place, or Shift Command V, I believe, or Shift Command F. So that is one difference about it. Now another one is if you want similarity now is if you want to combine things. So if I want to duplicate all this stuff and then now I want to combine it, I can go ahead and select everything and hit Command G, and that will move it into a folder. Now obviously on the right hand side is where all the layers are in Photoshop and Illustrator, but now everything is on the left. But as you can see, you have your groupage, which you can do in there, and you can group a folder within a folder within a folder. So that's something that can be done very, very easily. So that's not a problem. Now the difference is when you click on this in Photoshop, you did have to hit the Command key to click on the specific grouping or individual element. In this case, I can just select on it and it will select the entire group, or if I'm in that specific folder, I can select that specific groupage. But if I want to select a specific element, I hit the Command key and I can select that piece within that folder. So if you need to find something that's really nested or buried in folders, you hold the Command key and you can click and it will take you right there. So that is a similarity, except this time you don't have to turn on and off that functionality as you did have to do in Photoshop. In Photoshop. Illustrator, just you do it. So that's really, really nice feature. Now, the next one, which is really, really cool, and just to show you, or I shouldn't say cool, but it's the same. If you hold the Option key and you click and drag, that duplicates the item and adds a numerical value next to it. So now this is number 4 and now this is number 5. So that is something that is similar to Photoshop and Illustrator that hasn't really gone anywhere. So that's relatively familiar. Now in terms of editing things, naming conventions, stuff like that, you could just double click and name just like in Illustrator or Photoshop, so that hasn't changed. The color picking or the color aspects, such as the hex codes, that hasn't changed. So you can copy and paste hex codes from Photoshop into here. It'll be generally the same. The color gradients are the same. Obviously things are in different places. The aligning elements are the same. They're just not up here, but they obviously do the same things. And it's a very limited program, but like I said, it's very, very powerful. It is vectorized, so it's really, really nice to use when you need to do high-res stuff. So those are pretty much the similarities and differences. There's a hell of a lot more. Obviously, there are the rulers. It's kind of counterintuitive. In Photoshop, you would grab the top ruler, and that would drag the horizontal line. In this case, you have to go to the left and click on this to do the horizontal line, and the top one to do the vertical line. So it is counterintuitive. I still get confused sometimes when I am working. It's a little bit annoying, but you get used to it after a while. So those are there. The hotkey for rulers, however, is not there. The Command R, so that is not going to be there, unfortunately. And also the functionality for moving items forward and back with the left or right bracket holding the command key, that unfortunately is not there as well. So I'm trying to think of all my hotkeys. Inverting things like that, that's not obviously something that you can do. You can only italicize by hitting Command I, so that's related to the type elements. If you want to transform, there's no Command T, you just click and then click on the corner to transform something. As we can see, we can transform this freely. Or what is carried over from Photoshop and Illustrator is holding the Shift key to transform it proportionally. So that's something that you can do there. So those are pretty much all the similarities and differences between Sketch, Photoshop, and Illustrator. There probably are a lot more. If you do have the hotkey or using the key commands with both programs in Photoshop and Illustrator, try them out in Sketch. I want to say most of them are there, not all of them, but most, and most of the most used ones. And I think they're pretty universal, like Command G for grouping, things like that. The Option key to duplicate, that's obviously there. So some stuff might seem familiar to you, and that's why it's really easy and quick to pick up if you do know Photoshop and Illustrator. Just learning about the program itself and understanding what everything does, once you get a grasp of it and understand it, you can really fly through working on projects or designing things, which literally what takes you to do something in Illustrator or Photoshop will cut your time in half, if not more, working in Sketch, and that's what's the beauty about it. All right, so that's it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one. We'll be covering some more stuff. See you guys there.